Well, hello, hello. Happy Thursday night. I'm Tia Knapp, and normally I'm here at 7 o'clock with Dr. Michael Gross, who currently is having a few little technical issues, so he should be joining us shortly. In the meantime, what I thought I'd do is I'll just go ahead and introduce him and give you a little rundown on our beautiful, famous Dr. Michael Gross. Hang on a minute. I've got him on the phone. So apologize for that, but here we go, okay? Dr. Michael Gross is a professional keynote speaker, energy transformational coach, entrepreneur, and the author of The Spiritual Primer, Applying God's 12 Transformational Laws to Reawaken Your Soul by Reconnecting to God, the True Source, to experience your true source's love, joy, and happiness. He helps you to achieve an unlimited life. For over 30 years, Dr. Michael Gross has been a spiritual teacher, a multidimensional healer, a transformational coach who is exceptionally skilled in all aspects of soul, oversoul, frequencies, body timing, vibrations, life force energies, and a myriad of other things. Dr. Michael Gross holds many degrees, some of which include a doctorate of alternative healing psychology. He's a Reiki master teacher, thought field therapist, certified professional hypnotherapist, a non-denominational minister, and much, much more. He offers workshops including Reconnecting to God, the True Source, Cellular Release, Manifestation Protocols, Energy, Multidimensional Healing, Enlightenment, and many other things. Dr. Michael Gross is also an international intuitive consultant for corporations, and he's traveled over half the world. His clients are in USA, Australia, New Zealand, South America, Asia, and other countries. And his messages are now even being heard in the Baltic countries, Sweden, South Korea, and more. Dr. Michael Gross has completed the formation of a 501c3 nonprofit corporation called the International Institute of Self-Empowerment. And I'm thrilled. Hang on. I hear him on the phone. Hold on just a minute. I'm right here, Michael.
So my internet is down. I don't know why. So,
I can't hear you. Barely. Go ahead.
okay, so why don't we do a little Q&A?
Okay. So Michael's having a little technical issue here, but we can do a Q&A. So I know, I don't know if anybody else has got questions, but I know that some of you are listening. You're very, very consistent, loyal viewers, and we really appreciate that. And we'll go ahead and type your questions into Facebook or on YouTube, and we're going to do a real casual Q&A today, okay? So I'll give you a couple minutes to get your questions ready while Michael works on his internet as he's waiting for your questions, okay? Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am. My internet followed it up, says it's supposed to be connected. I had this problem the other day, if you remember.
I did. Michael has an internet issue going on. It shows that he's actually on the internet, but it's not lighting up. So Krista has a question. Go ahead, Krista. Go. You can just, let me see if I can, there's a little thing here. If you're in YouTube, I can get you on, but I don't know if I can invite you in or not, Krista, but let's see if we can get you on.
So is there any way I can get on my phone?
You know what, Michael? This is going to be a technical challenge for both of us. Krista, go ahead and type your question down, and I'll be able to see it, and I can ask Michael. I have him on the phone, so he can relay the answers. I'll just put the phone down so all of you can hear. I'll just need a thumbs up or some sign to let me know that you can hear him. So, Inga, can you tell me, Michael say something. Can you hear Michael? Michael, say something.
Yes, Inga, how are you? Thank you for being on. Thank you for your question.
Okay, can you hear her? Can you hear Michael, Inga? or Krista? I don't know that they can hear if they're not. We'll see. I'll just go ahead and put a little comment down here. Okay, hang on, Michael.
Can I go to Facebook and get on?
We're coming in through StreamYard, Michael.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think so, but let's do this. We're going to go ahead and I'll sign off and we'll come back on in a couple of minutes. Okay, we'll see if we can't get Michael on. Sorry for the delay, but we are going to come back on. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for popping in, and we will be right back. Okay. Before I end it. Oh, okay. Krista can hear us. Okay, Michael.
Okay.
Okay. Krista's question. Thank you, Krista, for letting us know that you can hear us. Okay. So here's the question. If you birth out early, does that mean you don't have to come back here because you were done with your lessons here?
That's a very good question. Not necessarily. There are a couple of scenarios. One of the scenarios, if you birth out early, your mission and goal may be over because, let's say you birth out at a year or 2 or 3 years old, whatever it is, or maybe you go through the birth canal, then you birth out shortly thereafter. So some souls, to complete their growth, all they needed to feel was unconditional love. And certainly there's no one better to give unconditional love than the host of the fetus, which is the mother. So sometimes that's the only reason. Sometimes they have something more important they desire to accomplish. So they want to withdraw and take on a new mission and goal. So it's one of two scenarios. If Krista is concerned about her child, what is his first name again?
Bo.
Thank you. Hold on a moment. All he needed to experience was unconditional love. And so you gave him that gift. And then his mission and goal was over. So now he can move on to a higher plane. So thank you for being the host of that beautiful soul. And thank you for all the unconditional love you gave him. You did a wonderful job.
Krista, did you hear that? I think she didn't respond, but I think we have a few guests on. And for those of you who joined us just now, we're having a little technical issue getting Michael on. Oh, Krista heard you, Michael. Thank you.
Cool.
And she sent you a heart. Inga also has a question for you, and she can hear you too. So we're just going to do it this way tonight because we've got you in a little bit of a different connection, but that's okay because it's more important that the message gets through. We also have a new guest joining us. Her name is Janice, and she's sending you hearts, Michael. So here's the thing that's going on for those of you who have just joined us. Michael's having an internet issue at his end, and we have him on the phone. So put your questions in the chat, in the comments, and I'll read them out loud so that he can hear your questions. And I know that Inga had one that she was going to ask on Tuesday. Michael, do you mind if she asks it now?
No, not at all, but please repeat it.
Okay, I will. I'll go right back to it, okay? Because she's having trouble writing the question down. So give me just a minute and I'll get it for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Our plan, well, it looks like the topic was the biggest, before we forget, the topic here is your biggest fear is your greatest gift in life. So let's make sure we address a little bit of that as well, okay? But here,
we'll do that next week.
Oh, we'll do that next week? Okay, that's fine. Wow, Janice is watching from the Philippines. And here is
Nice.
her, welcome, Janice. So here's Inga's question, okay? She wrote, so many uber Christian people will say that the types of things that Dr. Gross talks about are non-Christian or even heathen and therefore the devil, but she doesn't believe that. And what she said was, I believe that God talks many different languages and comes in more than one flavor, and how much is left for our interpretation and faith in that is the truth, or in that is the truth. But she would be interested to get your take on what other people are saying regarding the uber Christian people, etc., without becoming too biased on any side. Okay, does that help? Did I get that right? Okay, so there's your question, Michael, and we also have a new guest that just popped in too. So go ahead. I'm going to mute myself out for a minute so you can talk. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's a very good question about you were talking about. You know, religiosity, as I call it, no matter what religiosity you're following, is somebody else's rules and regulations. You read a book, and there's some truths in the books, and some of them are not some truths, and that you're supposed to take it for granted, and you learn it from a young age or maybe a little bit older, and you create a belief system. Where spirituality is your own beliefs and your own understanding and your own experiences. So there was a time when I was ultra religious, followed the Testament, Old Testament, and a little bit of the New Testament. And then one day I woke up and said, no, there's much more. And then when I began to do that, what happened is that many realizations came through. So if we are sitting there and thinking about people who are judgmental, and you ask them, what is the proof about the New Testament? Well, it's in the book, which is beautiful. But remember, many of the teachings of Christ and others were written many years after death. And there could be some misprint or misunderstanding. And if you look at the new Bible, it's been reprinted 2 or 3 or 4 different times. Go back to the Gutenberg Bible and the same King James Bible, and things have been changed and changed and changed. So religion truly is a stepping stone because it sets up a moral code, but also puts in inherent blocks, which says my way or the highway, and doesn't give you the opportunity to really explore different things. And Gandhi, there's a quote from Gandhi and said, God has no religion. So think about that. If the true source, if God, the true source, has no religion. And I believe that Jesus taught true source is unconditionally loving and forgiving. And that's all that counts. And do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What else do you really need? Why do you have to have all these other rules and regulations? I looked at the 10 Commandments, and by the way, they've changed. If you study the old Gutenberg Bibles and even older Bibles, you'll find that some of the definitions have changed. Like thou shalt not kill. There's an example of that. Well, so if thou shalt not kill, and which, by the way, I agree, in time of war, should you stand there and let yourself be shot, killed, or bayoneted, or hung to death, or whatever by the enemy? Is that what you're supposed to do? Thou shalt not kill? Or the real meaning was thou shalt not murder. Because even in ancient times, murder was, a crime as it is today. But you did, let's say kill antelope, deer, whatever, sheep, whatever you needed to live on. So there's an example of how something has been changed and manipulated. Yes, I've been on international talk shows. Edgar Casey, if you're familiar with them, with one of his sons. And again, sometimes they say this is the devil's work or whatever. But it isn't convenient that anybody says that anything that's different than religion, they come up, it's the devil's work, it's this or that. Well, how can they prove that? How can they prove that the message of love that I talk about, and I talk about reincarnation and everything along those lines, why is that not accepted? And when the disciples were saying, is the disciple John the Baptist, who was he? Well, actually said that one of the great Israeli prophets was there, and he mentioned his name, and the name escaped me for the moment. Oh, the prophet Elijah. And he said, isn't the prophet Elijah with us? And he said, yes, and he looked at John the Baptist. There's a subtle hint that there is reincarnation. So listen to the words that I share, and your soul knows whether they're true or not, or ring familiar. Because you see, you really have the gift of discernment to really know if it's true or not. The ego, ego, edging God out, is our own fears and doubts. And what we need to understand is that we need to use critical thinking and understanding. So, an answer to you, that's a great answer, not ego. And I'm just telling you that I believe I'm carrying the true source's message. How do I know? Because every time I talk about something, it's not written out, it's not planned. I have to be able to channel this information from the true source or one of the archangels or whatever wishes to come through. So that's how I obtain my information, plus a lot of it from my past lives. Isn't it interesting at the Sea of Sun, Constantinople, and Emperor Constantine had conquered most of Asia and part of Europe. They had the sea, which is the Eastern Pope and the Western Pope getting together. By the way, this is in the history books. And so the Western Pope, which we would call the Vatican, sent on his army and killed the Eastern Pope. Gee, that's very spiritual, isn't it? And then he had his way. And if you read further, he realized, Emperor Constantine, that the Christians were very docile and could be controlled. And his greatest fear was controlling his great empire. And that's why he adopted Christianity, so these people can be controlled under him. And he set up a deal with the popes. If we learn and look at the early popes, by the way, you will find out in the history books, they all had mistresses. They have astrological signs in the Sistine Chapel. So it's not purely lily white as we think. And that's not a criticism. It's just part of the fact of life. So Ingrid, I hope this answered your question.
So I'd like to add something to that too, Michael. You talked about the Sistine Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
Before, when I was in Paris one time, I went to Notre Dame, and that was like before the church had that terrible fire. But what I witnessed in the like the stained glass and the different things that were around the building, there was also indication of celestial life, something from above coming down. It wasn't just everything that they talked about within the Bible. It was more, they were recognizing a lot of different elements out there in our universe. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Hold on one moment. So when you mean the different elements about, you mean astrology?
Well, not so much astrology, but it was like some of the art is very, very old, and it was indicative of things coming from the heavens.
Well, those who did the glass work and the paintings, Michelangelo and others, in the different various chapels, they were spiritually or inspired by the angels or the guardian angels, the archangels that they had. And they were actually stories. Now we have to remember back in the 14th, 15th century, 13th century, people were rather, sorry to say, not too well versed in languaging, writing, and reading. So pretty much anybody that appeared to be religious or in power could convince the populace of anything because there was no way to prove it. And of course, the early church was done in Latin, and nobody spoke Latin or understood Latin. And it wasn't until the 20th century, which we're in now, the church has converted a lot of services from Latin to English. But at that time, they used Latin, and they wrote the books in Latin or in Greek or sometimes Italian. People weren't able to read. But the Sistine Chapel and Notre Dame and all the others was a way for them to tell a story. That's why when you look and see the paintings or the drawings or the glasswork, it could be a little confusing or a little bit wild. They just demonstrated as a God of vengeance as opposed to a God of love. So that answers your question.
It does. It also brings me to one more, though, Michael.
Yes.
Because sometimes it looked like chariots coming from high in the sky. Were they talking to us, through their messaging and their art? Were they telling us that there's more life out there than what we realize?
Absolutely. We have to look at interpretations, and it's hard to think about extraterrestrials. But I guess we're going to get into this a lot deeper than people want to know. But we are known, and it's quite as humanoids as we are, we have the DNA. And they've used the term junk DNA, meaning they don't know what it's for. And then they use the other words lately, the DNA to support other DNA. So if we understand all that, we are star-seeded. Well, really, what's that mean? It means that we have cohabitated, our ancestors cohabitated with extraterrestrials. And cohabitating with them, we have their DNA. So understanding that we have all this DNA from so many other races, stop for a minute and look at what Asians look like. Even there's differentiations in Asians. What they look like in the Baltic countries, look what they look like in Europe, what they look like in South America, even Mexico, other Arab countries, Australia, the Aborigines, the Native Americans. Why do we all look different? Well, they're going to tell you the genetics, the sun, blah, 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 blah. No, it's because of all these sort of DNA that we have from all the different extraterrestrial races that cohabitated with us. So this is a time of great awakening and the great gathering. Really, what does that mean? The gathering is we're surrounding ourselves with spiritual, beautiful souls. And in doing that, it's to awaken our soul to realize that we are unlimited. That's one of my words I choose to use and share with you. And that our potential is only limited by our fears and doubts and thoughts. What better way is to write a book and create fears and doubts and thoughts and limit what you can do rather to explore and discover so many things. Albert Einstein, beautiful, wonderful man, the theory of relativity and all the things he did, done. And then we look at many of the other inventors of so many other things. So Tesla, free energy, things like that. Well, where did he get about free energy? And he really demonstrated it. Unfortunately, George Westinghouse, or fortunately, was one of his benefactors. And so when he came out with free energy, a lot of the industrialists said, wait a minute, it's free, we can't make any money off this. So they poo-pooed it and tried to sabotage it. They also took George Westinghouse Electric, if you can remember, as chairman of the board and removed him. He still had controlling stock, but the board of directors removed him. And so they wanted to go for only money. So getting back to Tesla, it is said that he would create something on his dream world. He went into what we call the spiritual plane, constructed it, brought it forth, and when he created it, it always worked. He really discovered the radio and other things. Marconi, you can read up all about that. But the important thing is that he wanted to give away things for free, and then he was the mean. So I just bring up some of those things, and we talk about George Washington, about a dream he had while he was in the White House about a major war, and that the dream that Abraham Lincoln had about, his death, and others who had prophetic, beautiful messages to share. So I want everybody to understand one thing. When I wrote my book, The Spiritual Primer, I asked Jesus Christ to come and bless it. I actually watched him come over and put his hands on my book. It's something you can't make up. It was so thoroughly done. So I just wanted to dispel all the fears and doubts everybody has. And if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. But be open to the possibility. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Michael. I'm looking at the time, and we
still have more time. That's good because we got on late. So go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I'm not seeing a question here. Hang on a minute. Let me see what's on Facebook. Okay, it's not always popping up here. But does anyone else have a question for Dr. Michael? We have a little bit more time, and we had a light start. So if you have another question, go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'll ask him, okay? In the meantime, Michael, knowing that we just came into the age of Aquarius, is there anything you'd like to tell these people about that?
Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely.
You're welcome.
I thought the age of Aquarius would start in the year 2000. At least that's what they all said. Not being an expert in astrology, just enough knowledge to be total dangerous, as I say. It actually began in the end of November 2024. And that's when Pluto went into the beautiful sign of Aquarius. Well, really, what does that mean? Aquarians are about humanity, love, caring, truthfulness, and discovery of joy and happiness. And so now that we're entering into the age of Aquarius, and it's going to be about a 19 or a 19 and a half year run, and then we'll go into the age of Pisces and so on, which we can discuss later. What you're going to be discovering is many people now going through an emotional, physical, mental, and emotional change. It also is all about truth. So a lot of the lies and things we've been told through governments or friends or businesses or whatever is also going to be exposed and changed, which is very, very powerful. I just happened to look at the internet, and a lot of countries in Europe are starting to fall apart, and they're re-electing or electing new types of governments and new leaders that are making major changes. So it's really important to understand that you are going to be forced, and the word is forced, to look at changes in your life. And you'll have the gift to say, yeah, this makes sense. And you'll be able to make those changes in your thoughts, critical thinking, with discernment and knowledge. And you're going to learn how to set the ego aside. So remember, Ajin got out is another name for ego, E-G-O. And I'm going to be explaining a lot more next week, so I apologize. I'll have to call my internet service. I just want you to know all the boxes are all lit up and says I have service. I had this problem before, and they checked on it, I couldn't figure it out, and then it went back on. So I thank you for all your patience. One of the items I'd like to talk to you about is that on every Tuesday evening from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. is something called Soul Awakening. And Soul Awakening is all about, for 1 hour, you ask any question you so desire, and the last 10 minutes, I deliver a motivational message. I have close to 398 or 99 of them, and they're only 10 minutes long, and we'll tell you how to access that. But I cordially would like to invite all of you, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time to 7:30 Pacific time. Join us. The cost, free. Creates a win-win situation of knowledge. And even if you know all these things, you may have forgotten them. And the message, I believe, is very powerful because I never know what it is until I begin to channel it. Tia wants to tell them how they can access this.
I will most definitely share that. The Tuesday night call-in number is 202-926-1059. And the access code, Michael?
125-446-pound.
I'll give it one more time. I'm also, because of our little technical glitch, I'll make sure that goes into our Facebook pages, all his contact information, so you can go there later and pick that up, okay? But his number on Tuesday night is 202-926-1059, and the access code, Michael?
125-446-pound. So thank you, and I would encourage you, it's on freeconferencecall.com, which means that you can be in your pajamas, we'll never notice, and it's done vis-a-vis the phone. Also, on the second Saturday of every month, from 9:55 a.m. to 11:01 a.m. Pacific time, we do a mass consciousness healing. The mass consciousness healing is, you join us around 9:55, we talk for a few minutes, who's on, we chat for a few minutes, and about 5 minutes later, sometimes 6, I work with the true source, bringing through a beautiful energy of unconditional love to raise your vibrations. And it comes through your whole body and your heart. And it surrounds this planet with unconditional love. Not my love, the true source of unconditional love. It'll be the most exciting thing you can experience. It's very powerful, and you are making a difference. So as I ask the true source, how do we bring this planet back into line? How do we create more love and joy and happiness not greed and control and manipulation and violence, all this stuff. And True Source said, once a month, do this mass consciousness healing. So in order to access that on freeconferencecall.com, why don't we give them the information?
Absolutely. It's a beautiful opportunity to meditate with the Master and bring love to the rest of the world. That number again is 202-926-1059. And the access code, Michael?
125446 pound, as they say. Same as Tuesday night, Soul Awakening.
Perfect.
And then, everyone, I want to share with you is that these 10-minute messages you can access on YouTube by going to Dr. Michael B. Gross. Go to YouTube. There's all the podcasts that Tia and I are doing. There'll be these messages, they're audio messages, or there's a beautiful photograph with a quote, like what you think you create, you experience. These photographs are taken by an award-winning photographer. I think I know her. I think her name is Tia Knapp. So
thank you, Michael. Thank you.
So please participate. And when you go to YouTube, be sure to push the subscribe button, because the more people that push the button, the more followers I have. Because you see, each one of you are the solution. You're here to make a difference, to change this planet into love. This is not airy-fairy. It's true, it's real, and it's going to happen. And hopefully it'll happen in our lifetime. And I believe we have the great opportunity to do that. So Tia, why don't you tell them how they can access that information on freeconferencecall.com.
Perfect. Yeah, that number is different than the one we already gave you. It's 434-300-4170. And the access code, Michael?
125446 pound. Please, one more time.
Absolutely. 434-300-4170. And the code, Michael?
125446 pound. So I want to ask all of you to please when you get a chance to do so. And you'll find that if you're stuck in traffic or you're upset or arguing, you're bored, play it. And you're going to say, well, there's 397 and 398. Which one do I play? They're not labeled. That's right. They're not labeled. I thought I made a mistake. True Source said, no, we blocked you from doing that. Well, of course, why? Michael, do you want to read through 398 labels? No. Tell everybody to let their soul guide them. So it starts with number 3. And I can't tell you how many people said, oh, this is the number 151. I didn't know what it was, but just what I needed to hear. This is where you're going to have to learn to trust that they're very empowering, and they will and are changing your life. There's one more thing I'd like to address. And what I'd like to address is, the True Source said for me to set up a nonprofit, 501c3. And so I did. And what am I going to do with it? It's going to have 12 arms and 12 different divisions. You will find out. Well, then I met this beautiful woman named Tia Knapp, and I had the honor of coaching her and mentoring her. And as you'll find out, she wrote a book. She's an expert on abuse, but she experienced it. She didn't read it in a book. She experienced it. She rose like the phoenix from the ashes into rebirth and new beginnings. And so I asked her to be director of that division, which she agreed. So as we're coming into the holidays, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. So if your heart tells you to make a donation, please do so. You'll find the information how to do that. You will receive a letter of thank you, so you can show the IRS or whatever country you're in that you made a donation to a nonprofit. So that's one of the things I'd like to share with you. And just one other thing I'll share with you. There was a rumor going around that our President Trump said he was going to eliminate nonprofits. And I go, yeah, you're going to eliminate all churches. That's going to work. So I don't know where they get these stories from, but no, I don't believe he's going to do with that. I'm not saying I'm pro-Trump or anti-Trump. I'm just saying critical thinking, everybody. Don't believe everything you hear and read. All right, so I want to thank you for
Hang
that.
on, Michael.
And to you. Also, I want to tell everyone, excuse me, to you, you give a complimentary session. It's a 30-minute session. And if I haven't done it for you before, Tia has that information, and she has it in the chat. So when you call or you use my email, please state your name and where you live, so I know, what time zone you're in or what country, and of course your telephone number. If you're going to call and leave a message, text me after you leave the message. Then I will read it. Otherwise, sometimes I don't listen to my messages because I'm tied up till 1 o'clock in the morning, and you don't want me to wake you up. So please do that. And I would encourage you to learn more about me by going to drmichaelgross.com. I'm not the urologist, everybody. So you read down and you read about me. So I wanted to share that with you. Go ahead to you.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for all the information. I highly encourage everybody to connect with Michael and take him up on that complimentary consultation, because he's truly an amazing miracle in my life. He wrote the book, The Spiritual Primer, and I'm showing them the book right now, Michael, okay? This is the second edition that he posted with a lot of really golden nuggets, okay? If it wasn't for Dr. Michael Gross and this beautiful book that he wrote, the book that he was talking about that I wrote would not even be in existence. I would still be out there somewhere struggling in my life, trying to figure out where my self-worth is. And because he took the time and he's diligently been working with me, we've been working together for 5 years now. He has changed my life incredibly and turned me into not the wallflower that I was, but the confident person that I am today, who speaks from my heart. And I'm just so honored to be part of his nonprofit. And I'm thrilled to pieces to offer to you an opportunity to get his book, a signed copy of his book, or a signed copy of my book, or both, okay? But you have to contact us, because these books are not, the ones that are on Amazon will not be signed. They come straight from Amazon. And I don't think Michael's got his second edition on Amazon as yet. So the best time to get his book signed, and think about it, this is like Christmas coming up. What a great Christmas gift that you can share with someone else. Something that will give them peace of mind, unconditional love, and hope to move forward into the new year, 2025. So on that note, Michael, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. I wish you all well. I wish you joy and happiness. And please tell others to join us next week. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, everybody, for dealing with us and the technical support. We're so blessed and honored that you stuck with us through this whole thing. And definitely go to Facebook later. You can go to my page or his page. The contact information will be on both, okay? So on that note, Michael, there's one thing you haven't said yet.
Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, you are unlimited. We love you. Namaste.
We love you. Namaste. Thank you. Good night.